Hey guys, I'm Gushi here at Greddy Performance Products. We're going to turbocharge a Scion FRS. What we have here is the Greddy Performance Products tuner turbo kit with the 518 turbine for the Scion FRS and Subaru BRZ. The next step is to drain out the oil and start the removal process of the oil pan assembly. And this is the last one. Okay. And once again, if you look right here, there's a little hole right here. That's the access hole to get to the clip. Just stick your screwdriver through this hole, push the clip in, and if you can see here, this is the direction you want to go. So upon removing the front bumper cover, if you guys take a look here, you guys won't see this on your car, but this is actually the circuit spec oil cooler that we offer through Greddy Performance Products. It is an aftermarket product on the car, but if you guys do wish to have an oil cooler, I highly recommend this product. What we're doing here is actually just prepping one of the fittings that actually goes to replace the oil pressure sender. We're just putting some Teflon tape to prevent any leakage. Make sure you don't over tighten these parts. So this bracket you see here is supplied with the kit. This is one of the brackets that actually holds the turbo in place. And what we'll do is we'll replace two of the bolts that are holding up the pulleys on the stock engine with these supplied extended bolts and spacers. The next step is to actually take off this factory plastic trim. This is part of the air guide. We won't be using it anymore because this area is going to be replaced by the intercooler. So we'll go ahead and take it off. It's just a matter of a couple clips. So before we install the oil pan with the welded return line, we're going to actually clean off the silicone residue from the old setup. Make sure the surface is clean. This is the oil pan we took off earlier. We cleaned it up a little bit, scraped off all the silicone, washed the inside out, and if you take a look here, we actually welded on the oil return line that was provided with the Greddy kit. This right here is the oil return line that's going to bolt up to the turbo. We'll put this gasket in between. Now we're going to put together the inlet for the turbine. This is the crash beam that we just pulled out of the car, and obviously it looks cut already, but in order to find out where to cut, you got to actually put the intercooler on the car first, and then put the crash beam over it, mark off where it's supposed to be cut, and then use a rotary blade to make the necessary cuts. Alright, so what we're doing now is actually preparing some of the thermal wrap for one of the silicone couplers that goes right above the turbine, and that's just to prevent some of the heat soak. Alright, so now that we got the oil pan cleaned up, we're just going to apply some black silicone around the edges. So now we're going to go ahead and install the turbo manifold. We're going to use the supplied gaskets with the turbo manifold. So these will go in here. This one will go on the other side. And as you put it up, we're going to be using the factory nuts that came off the factory exhaust manifold. What we're doing right now is bolting up the bracket that's supplied with the kit. So as you can see here, later on once we have the downpipe, this black bracket will connect to the downpipe, the overpipe, and securely fastened by the exhaust manifold. This right here is the finished product. We measured 15 millimeters from top to bottom, 8 millimeters from the side to the center bore, 7 pi in diameter, both sides, and this will act as the bottom bracket for the intercooler. Go ahead, go ahead. Oh yeah. The next thing we're going to do is to remove the original crash beam. There's 4 bolts. This one right here, this one on the top end over there, and the last one's right here. So they're all 12 millimeter bolts. Alright, the next step is to install the intercooler, and we're going to use this black bracket that was supplied with the kit. Also another 10 millimeter bolt that's supplied with the kit. So this is the hardware supplied with the kit for the intercooler bottom bracket. I'm going to use a spacer, a long bolt, and a nut. These are all supplied with the kit. So what we'll do is we'll put the spacer in between the intercooler bracket and the bottom bracket that we drilled earlier. Push the bolt through the top, sharpen it down from the bottom. We just need to make a few adjustments to the crash beam that we modified. It was a little tight, so I'm going to go ahead and shave this part down. So this pipe, you'll go ahead and after lifting this up, guide it through the hole that we cut earlier, and just put it in the silicone hose, and you'll clamp it on both sides, top and bottom. So these are the two bolts that you took off earlier to raise the radiator core support. After putting that pipe back on, you just simply use the same bolts and reinstall. Just leave these semi-tight for now because you have to adjust the piping angle later. This one you'll just simply guide it through the hole. Now we're going to go ahead and finish up bolting these 14mm nuts. Alright, we are getting ready to install the turbocharger. This is a supplied gasket. It's going to go on top of the turbo manifold, and the turbo is going to go on top of the gasket. Okay, the turbo manifold actually only has 3 ports where it's threaded to stick the stud in. For the 4th one that's not threaded, you actually have to use a bolt, a crush washer, and a nut. You stick the bolt from the bottom end, and as you see the top end come out, you use a crush washer, put it in, and use a supplied nut to lock it down. This bracket is supplied with the kit, and it's actually bolted onto the water pump, and its job is to prevent the oil return hose from hitting one of the pulleys. These are the last 5 of the studs that are remaining with the kit, and we use these for the exhaust turbo downpipe. Just screw it in through here. So this is actually a part of the downpipe, the gasket that's supplied with the kit. This is not optional. You do want to use the gasket along with the downpipe. So we will use the supplied crush washers and nuts to tighten down the downpipe. Go ahead and put the crush washer in, followed by the nut. Okay, the last one, we actually have to access it from the bottom. This last bracket that we have here is used to hold up the downpipe to the pulley bracket that we attached earlier. So give it a little good snug. Same with the bottom one. Give it a good snug. Okay, what we have here is the oil fitting and the bung for the feed line for the turbo. And what we're going to do is use one of the crush washers. Stick it through that. The next one. And go ahead and put it by the turbo. Alright, this piece right here is the oil feed line, and we're going to use what we just connected onto the turbo, this piece. Pick it up to that. And the other end is going to go to the port that we installed earlier on the block to replace the oil pressure sensor. This is the heat shroud that we're going to put on top of the turbine exhaust housing. We're going to use the supplied bolts. These are the very short ones. There's only 3 of them. You can't miss them. So this is the last piece of the intercooler piping. You'll screw in the MAF sensor here. Alright, so what we have here is the vacuum nipple that's going to connect to the hot side of the intercooler charge pipe, and then the vacuum line. So we're going to go ahead and insert this threaded end into this port. It's already provided with the kit. Alright, so this is the air cleaner assembly. I'm going to go ahead and use the supplied silicone coupler, the suction, and the actual air cleaner. What we're going to do now is make sure the smaller end goes to the turbine compressor housing. Don't forget to put on the clamp. Okay, so what we have here is a test pipe that's included in the kit. You'll notice that one side is relatively flat compared to the pipe. The other side is angled. You want to make sure that you put the O2 sensors in order. Alright, so for these two O2 sensor wires, we're just going to try to bring it up, guide it back to the top. This piece right here in the middle, there's a oil return rubber hose. We actually use thermal wrap to wrap it, the thermal wrap including the kit, and then we use the hose clamps on the outside. Now we're going to go ahead and install this return line. We haven't started the car yet, but we are about to prime the turbo. We're going to have Jeffrey in the driver's seat crank it up for about 5 seconds without actually starting the car. And with the manual car, you can actually do that by getting on the clutch, getting full power on the accelerator before you crank it. And if you crank it full power, it's actually not going to fire up. So we're going to try to prime the turbo like that. And that's always a must for any new turbo install. You should always prime the turbo with new oil. Make sure the oil pump gets all the oil in the necessary spots and build up the oil pressure. All right, go ahead and start it up. So we're just about done with the install of the Greddy Tuner Turbo T518Z install kit on the Scion FRS. We are done with the install, but you can't just drive it off right away. You do have to take it to your favorite tuner shop and have them either reflash the ECU or have them add a piggyback, get it on the dyno, get it tuned, and then you can enjoy the turbo after that.